The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
It is not our intention today to revisit all of the many anomalies found in the PDF file purported to contain a certified copy of Barack Obama's original long-form birth certificate. However, we would like to make the following clarification regarding our March 1st press conference. The Cold Case Posse is very much aware that layers can be created when a document is optimized. In fact, we pointed out in video number 4 that the control document in our test contained 45 layers after being optimized. A point that seems to have been lost on some who viewed the last press conference is that the layers in the PDF file released by Barack Obama are not consistent with the types of layers produced by scanning and optimizing a document, but are instead consistent with document tampering. So when you see experts on television or the internet stating that Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate doesn't have any problems because they scanned and optimized a document and they got layers too, they are guilty of not digging deeply enough into the layers to see what types of layers were produced and how those layers differed from the layers in Barack Obama's PDF file. For example, the PDF file released by Barack Obama has 8 1-bit layers and 1 8-bit color background layer. This is not consistent with optimizing a document, but is consistent with tampering. Were the layers truly a result of optimization, we would have seen only 1 1-bit layer and multiple 8-bit background layers. Since March 1st, 2 experts not associated with our first press conference were brought in to review the evidence we presented that day. Before issuing an opinion, both independently ran approximately 600 separate tests. One ran tests on a machine with a Windows operating system, while the other used a Mac. These tests were performed using all forms of compression capable of creating layers and with many different software programs. Both experts came to the same conclusion independently of each other. The anomalies in the PDF file purported to be a scan of Obama's long-form birth certificate cannot be duplicated using the known forms of compression in currently available software.
Hello, YouTube. Well, y'all heard that little bit right there. Now, the ones of you that know me on YouTube, been on me for a while, you know I'm dead against this birth certificate. And I'm bringing it to your attention again because that's what I do. This is my new channel and I haven't put nothing up on it. So here we go. I'm not trying to hurt no one's feelings, but it is unconstitutional. The man has not got a legal birth certificate. His social security card and everything else is bad. So I got a few more clips here and I'm going to interrupt in between each one. So y'all check this out, okay?
The 1955 revised laws, which were in effect in 1961 when Obama was born, made birth registration compulsory in Hawaii. The 1955 revised laws also allowed anyone claiming to have witnessed a birth to register that birth. Please note the state of Hawaii accepted testimony to a birth that was unsworn, and they had no investigative unit to document the unsworn testimony. Most unattended births were registered at local offices. Hawaii had 5 local offices in addition to the central office in downtown Honolulu. In 1982, Hawaii legalized what had been its unofficial policy for decades by making laws that codified Hawaii out-of-state and foreign births as Hawaiian births. Observe this letter sent on March 1st, 1982, from then Hawaiian Director of Health to Hawaiian State Representative Herbert Sagawa, who was chairman of the House Committee on Health. Dear Representative Sagawa, this bill would require the Department of Health to issue birth certificates to children born or adopted anywhere in the world if their parents were legal residents of the territory or state of Hawaii and paid income tax in Hawaii at the time of their birth or adoption. The department supports this measure, but wishes to point out that such a new activity could have a workload/budgetary impact in the delayed registration section of the Vital Records program. While the department presently has no data from which to project the size of such impact, a large number of requests for such birth certificates would require additional staffing and funds for the program. Note that the Director of Health seems unconcerned over the fact that Hawaiian birth certificates would be given to individuals born in other states and other countries, but is solely concerned that his department receive the necessary increase in staff and funding to handle the anticipated number of requests. According to Hawaiian law, the birth certificates issued by the state of Hawaii only prove that Hawaii has a record of the birth information on file, not that the information is true or accurate. A Hawaiian birth certificate is therefore worthless in terms of its evidentiary or probative value. In order to truly vet a presidential candidate from Hawaii, one must have supporting evidence in addition to a birth certificate. For example, hospital records. As you'll learn in our next video, Kapiolani Hospital has been less than cooperative with those wishing to investigate Barack Obama's alleged birth at their facility.
Well, that's all the proof that you need right there. It already proves to you what's going on. All you got to do is listen to the proof. The proof is in the pudding. How long are we going to continue to let him take our rights away and are screaming about this man's birth certificate, him not be legal? I just don't know. It's kind of funny in a way that people won't wake up to the fact that he's not legal or his documentation is not legal. But, I'll give you some more proof, so listen up.
When the PDF file containing what we're told is a certified copy of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate was released, many were curious as to the meaning of the strange pencil markings found throughout the document. It's now known that these markings indicate a document has been coded for vital statistics recording purposes. Though states were paid only pennies per document by the federal government for their work, the task was well worth the effort, as federal funding was and still is tied to population. In order to decipher these codes, the Cold Case Posse obtained information from the 1961 Vital Statistics Instructions Manual for Births. Please note that the number 9 was the code used to indicate that an answer to a particular question was not stated. This puts some of the information on the certified copy of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate in conflict with the written code. Or perhaps stated another way, the document is essentially in conflict with itself in two places. We call your attention to boxes 9 and 12B. Both of these boxes have been coded with a number 9, meaning that the information was not provided by the applicant. If the applicant didn't provide the information, why did these boxes have information in them? Based on the coding on Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate, it should have looked like this, but it does not. Box 9 has always been highly scrutinized because most suspected the term African was not used as a race identifier in 1961. They were correct. It was in fact not used by the federal government until 1989. Some might ask if the clerk coding this document simply made a mistake in boxes 9 and 12B. It should be pointed out that it was the policy of the Hawaiian Department of Health to have coding reviewed by a second deputy clerk. The odds of a mistake are therefore greatly reduced. A review of the coding indicates that all other codes on Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate that are legible correspond perfectly to the codes listed in the 1961 manual. The codes listed in the manual also correspond perfectly to the coding on the Nordyke twins' long-form birth certificates. We are therefore confident that the codes used on Barack Obama's 1961 long-form birth certificate were taken from this manual. So, in addition to the electronic evidence that the document has been tampered with, we now have supporting evidence provided by the vital statistics codes found directly on the document.
Well, it just gets better and better and better, don't it? I just don't understand why there's so many Americans, so many people in this country that just can't see the light in front of them. The main goal with all the people that are awake in this country now, why this can't be fixed, why it can't be looked at, why the people can't raise enough hell to show that the man is not legal for this country or ever has been legal, which makes everything that he's done null and void.
When the cold case posse went to Hawaii to investigate this matter, they found that most doors were closed to them, and that both government and private sector officials alike were prone to overreacting to their presence. For example, when two members of the cold case posse attempted to visit Hawaii's state registrar Alvin Onaka, they were met with local police officers who seemed confused as to why they had been called to the scene and eventually left. It should be pointed out that as a courtesy, the cold case posse members in Hawaii made their first stop the local police department. They informed local PD that they were in town and would be asking questions of people, so the visit by local police came as quite a surprise to the posse members. Eventually, the posse was told that Mr. Onaka doesn't speak to the public. Visiting law enforcement officials from another state aren't exactly the general public, but the posse was happy to at least be granted a short meeting with Deputy Attorney General Jill Nagamini. In that meeting, posse members were told that once someone with a direct and tangible interest has been given a copy of a record that had been held by the Hawaiian Department of Health, they can do whatever they want with it. Ms. Nagamini was given several opportunities to confirm that the PDF file posted at whitehouse.gov was in fact the same document the Department of Health released to Barack Obama's attorneys. Ms. Nagamini declined, stating that the posse was asking for a verification and that such a request had to be made within the statutory laws of the state of Hawaii. The cold case posse was made aware of a logbook that existed within the doors to the delivery area at the Kapiolani Medical Center where Barack Obama was reportedly born. In this book, all births for a 2-year period were logged, and then the book was retired to the hospital's archives. Upon requesting access to the archived logbooks, the posse was told that the hospital was not in the business of investigating birth certificates, but in the business of saving lives. Soon after this comment, the posse was asked to leave the facility.
Now, why do you reckon they were asked to leave the facility? Because they were getting too close to the truth? Like everything else. Every time we get close to the truth, what do? The same old thing, don't they? Same old thing. Never changes. It's always the same, ain't it? Always. You get close to something and what do? The same thing over and over again. But I don't know, folks. I'm going to let y'all listen to the last part and I'm not going to say any more. Much love to y'all. Y'all have a good night and a good day tomorrow. Maybe we can do something.
Much has been made of the fact that Barack Obama has a higher birth certificate number than the Nordyke twins, who were supposedly born after him at the same hospital. In order to determine if this is actually a problem for Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate, we reviewed the Hawaiian Department of Health's procedure for processing birth certificates and verified that these procedures were followed by speaking to Verna K.L. Lee, the clerk whose signature appears on Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. Here's what we now know. The coding information from even-numbered certificates was forwarded to the federal government for vital statistics tracking purposes. If the certificates from the entire state of Hawaii had been lumped together and then sorted chronologically, there would have existed the statistical chance that outlying areas would have not been represented properly. If, for example, a small number of certificates from an outlying area all landed on odd-numbered certificates, the area would have been underrepresented. If they had all landed on even-numbered certificates, the area would have been overrepresented. In order to ensure proper representation, birth certificates were numbered at the central office at the end of the month after being sorted first geographically and then chronologically. Please note that birth certificates were never sorted alphabetically. If Barack Obama had been born at the Kapiolani Medical Center, he would have been processed in the same batch as the Nordyke twins, Gretchen and Susan. Given the fact that Obama was born before the Nordyke twins, he would have been assigned a lower number than the twins. This proves that Barack Obama could not have been born at the Kapiolani Medical Center as reported. The numbering on his certificate is more consistent with a birth certificate that had been turned in from one of the outlying areas. One final point regarding the newspaper birth announcements in the two local Hawaiian papers: these are very inaccurate sources of information. Single-parent births were not listed. Some announcements appeared in one paper and not the other, and sometimes when a paper was low on available print space, a few of the announcements were not listed at all. Therefore, these newspaper announcements cannot be relied upon to make any type of sense of the birth certificate numbering process.
If there's a blue pill and a red pill, and the blue pill is half the price of the red pill and works just as well, why not pay half price?